Okay, good morning. Welcome to the Human Resource Management training. Okay, my name is Victor, and I'm going to be your anchor for this training. We're going to be looking at human resource management. So this is the curriculum description for the different content and aspects of the human resource management course. So we're going to be looking at strategic objectives, the employees, how training plays a role in human resource management, how do you do employee recruitment, how do you reward and incentivize offer incentives for your staff, what business value are you going to be bringing to the table, and how do you guarantee overall success? Because over time, human resource management have translated from just being people management to you looking at corporate governance, corporate strategy, and how do you use different forms of resources to achieve that, including people management. So the question is, why should I choose HRM, human resource management? So it's very important function in every organization. Of course, without human resource management, companies will not be able to effectively recruit, train, improve, enhance their organizational objectives. So human resources is very important because people management is key to driving change, to achieving whatever overall benefits that you tend to achieve. Some other benefits are you're going to learn how to do recruitment, how to create job roles, responsibilities, and how do you map that to strategic objectives, and how do you get talent to fill in those roles? How do you create KPIs for them so that they can achieve your overall objectives? How do you do performance management? How do you build relationship? How do you create a workforce that is very productive? Then we're going to look at conflict management, because the thing is, when you have people, 2, 3, 4, 5 persons working together, it's not going to all be rosy. They are going to go through the process of team formation. There's going to be the very first stage of them forming, storming. Then, of course, they start becoming productive. And of course, before they either go on to work in other aspects of the company or they leave the company. So how do you manage conflict? And of course, what are the different ways you can improve employee turnover? How do you build a culture for an organization? Different companies, depending on the niche. Is it going to be in construction? Is it going to be in projects? Is it going to be in tech? Is it going to be in business? Is it going to be in consulting? Is it going to be in fast-moving consumer goods? Depending on the area of the organization seeks to focus on or their niche, that will tell what kind of culture or what kind of values that will make a big difference. Of course, human resources have to do with you employing, training, compensating, developing policies. Different organizations are going to have different sort of policies. They're going to have their IT policy, their HSC policy, their work policy. Even some companies go as far as having dress policy, though they might have some make it a little bit liberal. But all of the different policies that affect humans, that affect your personnel, and what strategies are you going to develop so that you can train them from time to time, either train a trainers program or direct training, or what form of training strategies are you going to be using? HR means payroll, sending birthday gifts to employees, arranging for their outings, making sure forms are filled correctly. This is what it used to be in the time past, just payrolls and the rest. But now it has gone beyond just administrative roles to more strategic and crucial objectives for the entire organization. Because the people that manage your organization will tell how best you're able to achieve your overall goals. Now, what are the role of HRM? Keep in mind that many functions of HRM are also tasks other department managers perform, right? So we're going to describe them in different sections. So we're going to look at several modules, like the role of human resource, the skills that are needed. Then, of course, the current challenges, right? Because in managing people, the current challenges can be very, very daunting, right? Even when you work with people, you work with staff, they might have their own objectives different from the objectives of the C-level executives. The C-level executives, I mean the chief executive officer, the chief technology officer, the chief security officer, the chief financial officer, all of those C-level executives. Your challenges, your objectives can slightly differ from what each team head or each team member is going to have. So you got to see how are you going to align this, and these are some of the challenges that you're going to face. We're going to see how that can be trashed, how that can be sorted out. Then we're going to be looking at developing and implementing strategic HRM plans. So here we're looking at the high level. We're not just looking at tactical or operational plans, but we're looking at top level management strategic plan. If you say, in the next 10 years, I want this company to have 10 outlets or branches. I want us to have more 5 products. I want us to have $10,000 in ROI. I want us to, those are more or less strategic plans. So the question is, how do you not just employ people, pay them, have payroll, and they don't fulfill that core strategic plan? So we're going to see, how do you write a HRM plan? How do you do HRM planning? Now, in Module 2, we're going to be looking at diversity and multiculturalism. So because people are going to come from different ethnic backgrounds, different cultures, how you manage diversity is very key, because you don't want to be discriminating in how you manage the differences in how people, for instance, dress, how they live, their views, and their culture, their diversity. You want to see how to harness these differences and make it form a kind of uniqueness within your corporate culture, because they say there's strength in diversity, but you need to know how to harness all of these diversities and these different cultural ideologies or different cultural leanings, and see how to make them achieve your own organizational goals and plans. We're also going to look at the process of recruitment. So you could do recruitment offline, online, digitally. Look at the different processes, how you're going to do recruitment. We're going to see the step-by-step process of doing that, of course, right from you knowing your strategic goals, looking at the responsibilities, assigning roles to those responsibilities, then looking at what key skill sets that are going to be filling those roles. Then, of course, you open up vacancies for that, then running through the interview process, then streamlining to the prospect, then, of course, doing some tests, then maybe doing probation period for those prospects, then before you cannot achieve your final staff members. So the thing is that right from the time you're going to be doing strategic plan to the point where you're going to be recruiting your staff member or members is quite a daunting process, right? So we're going to simplify it and see how you can have a plan, translate that plan, and take care of the recruitment processes. Then we'll go to look at different recruitment strategies and how you can achieve that, because selecting talent for an organization can make or mar the organization. So like I said earlier on, we're going to be looking at the selection processes. Of course, right from your strategic plan to your skill sets that you're going to be looking at, from the job description to the roles, to the setting out for a campaign to recruit individuals to fill up those roles, to the streamlining of the individuals to a smaller number, doing an interview, doing a test, having them go through a probation period, then before you give them a contract or an award of employment. So all of those processes, we're going to all examine them. Then, of course, compensation and benefits, because One way you can provide incentives for your staff members is to provide compensations, to have a commensurate pay package towards efforts they bring to the table. So the different type of pay system, you're going to be paying per hour, per day, per month, bi-monthly, or it's going to be contract, it's going to be the different models out there. So we're going to examine them. What are the goals of a compensation plan? How do you develop a package? Because your package has to match with your strategic goals, and there must be some form of ROI, right? Like security experts will say return on security investment, business people will say return on investment, and people management, because humans is a form of resource, just like money is a resource, just like material is a resource, humans are also resources. So how do you make sure that this particular human resource is of great benefits to the organization? Then, of course, retention and motivation. You don't want to go through all of these processes of recruiting talent and you finish training them and you lose them. So retention is very key. You want to have laid back, or you want to have behind some of your best talent staying. So you don't want to have your best talent leaving. The cost of turnover, your retention plans, what are the different strategies you can incorporate to make sure that as you're recruiting talent, as you're growing, you also have some of your best talents staying behind. Of course, some are going to leave. So how do you make sure that your churn rate is not on the high side? Then in module 8, we're going to be looking at training and development, steps to take in training an employee, right? So there are different models to this. Are you going to be using e-learning management system or online platforms? Are you going to be sending them for off-site training? Is it going to be in-house training? Is it going to be mentorship plans? Is it going to be training by other colleagues that is train the trainers program? What method of training are you going to? Is it going to training by observation? So what kind of training do you want to incorporate? Are you going to be having a mix, right? How do you want to deliver such kind of training? How do you even develop a training program, a year on year or year in, year out training calendar to make sure that your talents are top notch? Then we're going to look at in module 9, successful employee communication. So what are the different kind of communications? Of course, both the formal and the informal methods, we're going to explore them. And of course, how do you manage employee performance, right? This is very, there's a thin line between performance and compensation. So if people perform, you compensate them. There must be a reward system. What are their rights? How do you assess them? How do you appraise them? For instance, I love to do my appraisal every three months. So I have a form, you fill it, you say what your job role is, what your job functions are, which departments have you been before now, where are you now, what are you finding difficult, what do you think you can do to improve your work functions, what do you think management can do to improve your work functions, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? Where do you see yourself at the end of the year? What are your goals? What are your plans? What do you intend to change? What do you think can be improved? These are different appraisal, some of the questionnaires you can send out to your staff member as an appraisal method. So there are different school of thoughts to this. So the goal is that you want to make sure that whatever strategic plan you have, your tactical and your operational staff members are implementing these things. And if there's some deviation or some aspect of the plan that are not actually aligned, you want to see how to align them, because you might be trying to achieve something whereas your employees are getting something else. So in your assessment and your appraisal, you're going to see how to align most of these things. Of course, you have a feedback section, you evaluate all of those, and it creates some sense of belonging, and your staff members understand that, yes, they're together in the process. They will see how to complete and conduct an appraisal. Then in module 12, we're going to be looking at labor unions, right? You have labor unions in different countries. They have what they stand for. We understand the concept of collective bargaining, administration of the collective bargaining agreement. You see how to make negotiations, because somehow Your staff members are going to be part of one labor union or the other. If it's for a large enterprise, they can even have a union within the corporation. And of course, they can also belong to other unions. Safety and health. Yes, you can't talk about human resource management, human resource planning without talking about safety and health. So health, safety, and environment, right? Health hazards, safety at workplace, right? Both industrial safety, health safety, work safety, personal safety, these are different aspects of safety that you all need to consider. Because, for instance, you can get litigation. You need to look at the health laws. You can look at the safety laws of your country. Within workplace, you should have a policy that drafts what are going to be your responsibility. What do you need to provide for your staff? For instance, in terms of personal protective equipment, in terms of the things they should do, the things they shouldn't do, and so that you don't incur some liability at your own end. Then we're going to look at international HRM, offshoring, outsourcing. And there's this belief in HR research programs where people compare you outsourcing your core functions and your non-core functions. For instance, for a manufacturing plant now, what they term to be their core functions can be different from what a consulting company is going to term as their core functions. So core functions are those day-to-day responsibilities that are very primary to your service delivery. So which should you outsource? You see some companies having remote jobs, having remote roles. Of course, they choose to outsource some of them or have talents from other parts of the world work with them. So how do you staff internationally, right? Of course, there are some HRM considerations, human resource management considerations you have to be aware of. So we'll look at some of these concepts and see how to incorporate them within an enterprise. We're going to be working at some projects. We'll do some research work, we'll do some reconnaissance, and of course, do an exam, and of course, run through an exam, then of course, certification. So if you have questions, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment in the section box, and I will do well to reply them. Thank you very much.